All right, and we are live. Today, I'll be talking about a relatively new technology. We've had GPS systems that have been fairly accurate in the past, but I'm going to be talking about location-based advertising and your privacy. So, as a brief introduction, in 2010, President Bill Clinton signed a bill that allowed civilians to access extremely precise global positioning system data. As mobile devices and GPS have become ubiquitous, users have seen a great deal of innovation, time-saving, and even life-saving technologies have become available. Newer innovation is location-based services are able to pinpoint anyone with a smartphone that is currently within the Wi-Fi area. These technology increases are rapidly outpacing law creation, and it's up to the software developers to figure out what is ethical use. So let's go into a little bit of definitions. Here we have geofencing. So geofence is a physical space that are digitally cordoned using Wi-Fi and GPS. These spaces can be of any size. For example, they can be the size of a state. Atlantic City is using this for making sure people are gambling only within their state, online gambling. There's also, it can be as small as schools, and they can be all sorts of schools. So certain apps can't be used inside schools to prevent cyberbullying. I'm going to be focusing on the implications of advertising and consumer-based geofencing. So if we look at Todd Humphreys, an aerospace engineering professor from the University of Texas at Austin and director of radio navigation, he says, "What's more private than our exact location? It's about as private as it gets." And that's kind of like the problem with this information is that it's really easy to be gathered, and it can be gathered without your knowledge. So prior to now, it wasn't technologically possible to find out much about consumers in stores until they actually bought something. What's interesting about these devices and these Wi-Fi based devices is that you can pretty exactly pinpoint where customers are, how long they're there, what parts of the store they're taking longer in. And since anyone can set these up, you can even have you can know when people that are using your application are in other stores, competing stores. So that a geofence can pretty much be set up by anyone that has access to the Wi-Fi data. It can also be used for mobile advertising. The goal is to have a customer walk into a department store and get a push notification on their phone with a personalized offer. Now, they have recently come out with some legislation about when you're allowed to send a text message to someone and when you're allowed to send an SMS to someone. Right now, it's an opt-in policy, so you can't send an SMS to someone just because they're in your store. But if they do have your app, they can precisely track where you are, and with their app, they can figure out, even if you're at a competitor's location, they can send you a push notification that way. These advertisements could definitely be intrusive onto people. The idea is privacy advocates compare it to in-store tracking to early days of email marketing, where marketers could buy and sell email addresses without getting permission from the recipients. So it's a big issue in the privacy sector right now. We're selling our privacy for convenience. Once again, Todd Humphrey is talking about location and how we're using it. So it could get worse, and it probably will get worse. Right now, it's fairly new, but it eventually will become ubiquitous. Retailers, startups, and investors love it, but the consumers aren't liking it as much. There are no federal laws regarding the gathering of positional information between citizens. Right now, the police force have to get a warrant before they can start tracking your location, but between citizens, you can pretty much track anyone around you. So the public will strike back. If the companies are aggressive enough, people will vote with their dollar. People will become more informed about this, and location-based advertising, if it's the status quo, people will start to find ways to get around it. The ACM Code of Ethics, of course, the different parts that apply are the ones that have to do with privacy. And us as developers, we can maintain our code of ethics. We must inform the public. It's illegal to jam GPS signals, but it's not illegal to spoof your signal. So there might be ways to get around it, ways to develop an app that could protect people. And in conclusion, it'll take the effort of all citizens, software developers, and legislators to properly regulate what data can be obtained, and more importantly, how it can be obtained. Thank you very much. And we are now not